Hello friends, I am Mohammad Tariq, Faculty History at Vajiram and Ravi, Rajendra Nagar. We are going to discuss here why should we take history as an optional paper for 2026 examination or even beyond, that is 2027 or 2028. Here we are going to discuss some of the advantages which history optional would give. The first advantage of history optional is that ever since inception of UPSC, that is 1926, history is one of the most consistent subjects among all the optional subjects given by UPSC. If you just scan last 75 years after independence also. The first thing is that it is much easier to grasp even if you never studied history after class 10th. And the reason is the very nature of the subject, whether it is ancient history, medieval history, world history or modern Indian history, which here we have 4 faculty members. Each one have their responsibility for different segment. For instance, I will be responsible for modern Indian history. My other colleagues would be responsible for ancient, medieval and world history separately. Each one have their own experiences and they would help you to grasp the subject right from the basic. Now, we understand that most of you never studied after 10th. Many of you are from BTech and professional courses. Some of you might have studied humanities but not necessarily history, or maybe history as one of many papers. So, the point which we are here going to take, that how every student who start here must understand from the very basic level to the very highest possible level as required in UPSC in the same class, 2.5 hours class, and you would notice that the first 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes would be about the fundamentals of the terms, about the origin of a particular empire or a particular colonies, etc. And then over a period of time in the same class, we will take you to different level of your intellectual depth. And that is what I mean easy to grasp in the classroom itself. Once in the classroom, you understood the basic concepts, the basic terms, the processes through which historical developments took place, whether in India or abroad, then the materials which we will be providing you, with the help of these two, you can understand this subject very well. The second important thing, which I call another great advantage of history optional, is that it helps in your general studies. As you know, in paper 1, you have a segment of history and culture, and the questions would be asked from ancient, medieval, modern and world history. So a student who studied history optional would not have to study separately, because obviously the standard of GS history would be below than optional history, and that is true with other subjects also. But history has one more advantage. In the same paper 1, you have social issues which is related to women, peasants, tribal workers, their movement. Once you read 19th century and 20th century peasant, workers, tribals, and once you read contemporary Indian social issues, you can find a very direct connect. And that is why the students having history optional would have advantage is scoring very well in 2 segments of paper 1, that is history and culture and social issues. In paper 2 of your general studies, what you would get origin of Indian Constitution. In Indian history, modern history, during freedom struggle, you would talk about those ideas, nationalism, equality, liberty, fraternity, justice. All these ideas emerged in 19th century in India and early 20th century. And our freedom struggle leaders, and don't forget, they became members of Constituent Assembly. They came with those ideas which became the basis of Indian Constitution. So once you read modern Indian history carefully, which of course in our classes we will discuss in detail, then paper 2, that part of constitution, which is the foundation of your entire paper 2, would be like a cakewalk. Right from Regulating Act to Indian Independence Act 1947, we will discuss in the classroom itself. But more than the details of the provisions of the act, you would understand in the classes the principle behind those laws, which were very intellectual in nature. And once you understand that, then the other part of paper 2 would become much easier. Another interesting part of paper 2 is various organs of the state, what we call India, that is legislative, executive, judiciary. That all we will discuss in modern history in any case. And also you would learn how in Britain, how in France, how in US these constitutions developed in 18th, 19th century, which you would learn in world history class. So you can easily connect much before your other candidate, other contemporary competitors of general studies, much easily once you have taken history optional to understand your GS paper 2. Also, one of the issue of GS paper 2 is India and her neighbor. And you would find the issues related to India and China, India and Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and the big powers like US and China, like Russia and US, like India and the big powers like Middle East and the Western, Oriental versus Occidental debate, all are rooted in history, whether it is in modern Indian history or world history. So once a student studied history, then she or he can easily do much better than other candidate in paper 2. Now in GS paper 4, as you all know, the questions are now based on some of the great thinkers like Mahatma Buddha, Vardhaman Mahavir, some Sufi and Bhakti saints of medieval India like Kabir, like Nanak, like Chishti, like Ramdev. Now, in modern times, you have right from Raja Ram Mohan Rai to Vivekanand to Mahatma Gandhi to Rabindranath Tagore to Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, Jawaharlal Nehru. They all are already taught in modern history, and they would ask, they have already asked, like last year they asked on Vivekanand, last to last year they asked Gandhi and Tagore. And in history classes, you would easily understand in the classroom itself with our class notes, with our additional study material. So you do not have to work too much on at least 40% of your paper 4. And even in your case studies, once you develop an intellectual depth, what is called right and wrong in ethical sense, moral sense, because don't forget, administration is not run only on the basis of laws and rules, but also on the basis of precedents, moral and ethical issues. And history and some of the thinkers would help you to connect that topic with your paper 4, that is what I said, case studies. In your essay, another very important part, as you know, which is of 250 marks, at least 1 to 2 essay every year, they are asking what we are already teaching in history of ancient India, medieval India or modern India. Now, sometimes they are directly give a quote of Mahatma Gandhi or Vivekanand or Mahatma Buddha or any great thinkers including Shankaracharya, and they can ask you to write about it. For instance, they ask a question, be the change what you want to see in others. That was Gandhi's statement. For instance, there was a question that you cannot swim in the same river twice. That in world history we discuss, even Lenin quoted it so many times. So essay is in your control once you take history as an optional paper. But not only I'm talking about the topic which you can get through history, but very important part in essay is that history would help in your intellectual development, and that intellectual development is possible through our subject like history. Now, What does that mean, intellectual development? That once you read some of the ideas like nationalism, like pluralism, like what is called diversity and how it is cherished and valued, what is gender equality, what is called materialism and spiritualism, many such debates like Orientalism versus Occidental would be part automatically of your history, and that would help you to develop your intellectual depth, capacity, width. Once you start preparing for essay, that would help because that would remain in the back of your mind. And essay is actually your worldview, how you see the world, how you see a particular topic rather than what others see. So we will help you through our history, internalizing those ideas and also questioning and challenging some of those views, which is very popular, and we believe that it was right, but it may not. That is how this intellectual development would help in your essay paper. Now, in personality test, that is also called interview, which is of 275 marks, history-like subjects helps you a lot. Why it helps? It is because the questions which is asked is not only factual in interview, barring say 10% part. 80 to 90% part would be opinion based, understanding about issues which is confronting India and the world. And a student of history would, as I told, have intellectual depth. So the sentences which you would construct during your negotiations and talk, in those sentences you would see the weight. Large number of students get poor marks in in interview because their intellectual depth is very poor. Now, a student who studied history, political science or sociology would automatically have some advantage, and that would help you to crack 180 plus, 190 plus, 200 plus. Many of our students from history background got 190 to 200, 200 to 210 in the last 20 years. And the reason is the same, that it helps in developing your intellectual capacity. Now, another advantage history is having that it helps at least 20 questions would come from history, as you know, history and culture, ancient, medieval, world history, etc. And a student who have opted history can easily answer those 17, 18 out of 20 from GS paper. Then in Vajiram, we have very good faculty of history. As I told that we are 4 here. Our friend Chandrabhan would take world history, another friend Parveen Dikshit would take ancient history, and Rohan Shrivastava would take medieval history. Each of these faculty have vast experience, have worked very hard on their subject, and their pedagogy, their method of teaching would help you a lot in grasping the subject easily. They would provide you, including myself, some handouts in the classroom. We will also have a very scheduled classes, and we will complete well in time, which is very important in this exam. Another advantage you would have, that here we are going to have test series in the classes itself. We will help you how to write a good answer. We will evaluate, as we did in the past, with marks and remarks, and those remarks would be specific to a particular question, as well as some general instructions that what are the problem in your writing, in your expression, in your language, in your grammar. And once you know your strength and your weakness, you can improve upon. That is the advantage of taking history at Vajiram. Now, the kind of questions which they ask, like I can give you an example. In history, for instance, Gandhi is very common. Now, how we teaches in our classes? The first thing which we will discuss about, Gandhi is some of his thoughts. Now, those thoughts can be described as his political thought and his religious thought. You must have heard Satyagraha. What does it mean? how to write in 150 words to 250 words in your GS, how to write in 150 words to 300 words in optional. Once you understand that Satyagraha and his religious thought, just based on class note itself, you can write a very good answer. Second, we will discuss Gandhi in South Africa, that what were the issues Indians were facing in South Africa, how Gandhi confronted and to some extent succeeded. Of course, not to great extent, because South Africa was not his original country and hardly 2% Indians lived out of the total population. So Gandhi's real charisma and real role would come once he landed in India in 1915 to 1948. Now, in this entire period, we will see the evolution of Gandhi. For instance, 1917 Champaran, 1918 Ahmedabad, 1918 Kheda Satyagraha were like a trial and error period. Of course, we will discuss in detail in that class also. This helped in evolving Gandhi in 1919 with Raleigh Satyagraha, which was little bigger than these three. But the movement which established Gandhi, undoubtedly the leader of the nation, that was non-cooperation movement along with Khilafat movement. So what element Gandhi brought in Indian politics, that you would learn in our classes. And as I just told, that in the class itself you can easily grasp. For instance, before Gandhi, politics was only under the control of elite, only under the control of urban people, upper caste, male, and mostly in few pockets like Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, Allahabad, Lahore, etc. It was Gandhi who politicized average Indian or common man. And what he did, that he linked your economic issues, your social issues, along with what is called political issues. Now, this interlinkages between the political issues and the socio-economic issues is great contribution of Mahatma Gandhi. And he started mobilizing common people, which was not easy. If you read moderate history, extremist history, they all played some role, but they could not make it pan-India. They could not penetrate in the masses like the peasants, like the industrial workers, like the tribals, like the women, which Gandhi did not through his only thoughts, but mainly through his action. And it was his action which is actually very important in history to read. Had Gandhi just wrote, he could have become a thinker, but not as important as he is in Indian history and world history. So Gandhi, don't forget, is more recognized because of his action-oriented politics, his padyatras, his fast unto death, his involvement with the peasant issue in the crowd, his mass appeal. Obviously, it all did not origin in one day or 1 month. It's the processes which made Gandhi a great man. Now, many people, of course, did not agree with Gandhi at that time. And even today, like revolutionaries did not agree with Gandhi, like socialists and communists particularly were attacking Gandhi. Right-wing Hindus and right-wing Muslims did not agree with Gandhi, and still they don't agree. You would be tested about these ideological differences in which Gandhi would be at center, and then you have to write Gandhi versus Tagore. Don't write the word versus in exam. I use it just as a sports language. Gandhi versus Jawaharlal Nehru. Gandhi versus B.R. Ambedkar. And Gandhi versus maybe revolutionaries, in which you can be asked about Subhash Chandra Bose and all other revolutionaries. Who knows, maybe Gandhi versus Jinnah. Now, all these interesting debate in which Gandhi would be at the center. Now, this debate would help you to understand contemporary debate of India also. You must have noticed that people are very polarized today. And most of the people are polarized not because they know these ideologies. They are emotionally attached to some intellectuals, some religious leaders, some political leaders. You would develop an intellectual capability in which you would find that in some areas Gandhi was right, but Ambedkar was also right. In some areas Ambedkar was wrong, but Gandhi was also wrong. So is with Tagore versus Gandhi, Nehru and Subhash and Jinnah, etc. And then you would develop your own thought. So in the conclusion, when you would write, the teacher who is evaluating your copy, they would understand that you have the depth. You're not biased towards any character. And in administration, don't forget, your intelligence, your neutrality, and your objectivity is going to help a lot, both you as well as the system and administration. And UPSC is looking such candidate, because the purpose of this entire exercise, don't forget, is to get selection. And we in Vajiram knows what works, which part of the syllabus to be taught in what manners, so that you grasp and you reproduce in your answer writing what UPSC is looking. Very few institutions actually knows this trick, because this is an institution which has been established since 1976, and it has an institutional memory led by our very senior and respected Rajendra sir, and the team of faculty, which I know it because I have taught in Central University, where a coaching was set up with the help of some very good faculty. But here what I noticed, that the faculty members are a specialist of their area, and they have worked a lot in each of that area. So you would have your 30 plus teachers for general studies itself. And as I told you, for history itself, you have 4 faculty for different segments. So each one are focusing in their own areas. It's very much like in good hospital, you would find a neurologist as well as a cardiologist as well as ortho and eye specialist, and each one are a specialist. And this is one of the few institutions in India where you have a consistent performance with very good team and very good ecosystem, because of the management, because of the team. And that is where you are at safe place once you join our classes in Vajiram. Thank you.